Hello, Miss Renuka. How are you doing?
Hi, Elisa. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Hi, Eric. I love you.
Hi, Mama. So we are ready with the list. He's showing me a list, and we are ready with the list.
What are we going to talk about today?
So, Mom, we promised in our last lecture that
Like I remember.
Yeah. That will be, choosing the comments to explain how to understand the lessons from our triggers, how to recognize the lessons ourselves. And we had requested in the last video to post in the comments what they want to understand specifically. So I have noted down the comments. I've just taken a screenshot so I know what all they have posted, and we try and get the lessons behind these emotions, behind these triggers. But before that, he's saying, Mom, I want it to be interactive and I want them to actually learn. I want them to get solutions, get more awareness of whatever they are going through.
Sure.
So, he is saying, we will go through the comments, of course, but before that, again, he wants to give some more understanding of how to recognize our lessons. He's saying, Mom, essentially lessons is karma. So it's very important we understand what lessons we have chosen in particular contracts or relationships, because that's the main purpose of learning and growing, and relationships are the main source. We learn through them. Right. And until we don't understand what a particular relationship is teaching us, we will not understand the karma involved, how to balance that karma. But at the same time, Mom, if you look at it practically and subjectively, if our relationships are going smooth, if we have learned the lessons involved in these contracts, which we call relationships, if we learn, these relationships will become smoother. Yeah. And what more we have, relationships comprises of 80% of our experience here in this reality. Rest can be situations depending on the theme of your soul plan. So all I'm trying to say is, if we understand the essence of what is going wrong in our relationships, we'll understand our lessons. If we learn our lessons, not only we are balancing the karma spiritually, which is important, but we are also practically trying to improve our relationships here, and hence improve our reality here.
Yes.
It is so much important that we try and make this reality a better reality. Yeah. We make our learning easier. We make our experience or every reincarnation original journey in the spirit world. So you think I am not only teaching it from the point of view of spirituality, but also as an empowerment thing, where you know what relationships you're living, what will help you improve them, what will help increase the satisfaction level, the experience level in every relationship, thereby improving our reality at so many levels. So I think it's psychological, it's spiritual, and yes, it improves the quality of our lives. And that's what I'm aiming. And that's why he, invited for questions in the comments. So before going
and do you see one that seems to be the most common emotion?
It was abandonment. I suppose it was mentioned for twice or thrice. It was rejection. Yeah. So we are going to discuss all of them in detail. But before that, he wants to give a general understanding of how we are deducting the lessons from our triggers. That's most important, because I might, take up few triggers and explain them, but it's important they understand the underlying technique of how to recognize the lessons. Because once we recognize the lessons, we learn the lessons, karma is balanced, spiritual contract is done with, and after that, there is no reason for the relationship to trouble you.
Right.
Your relationships become smoother.
Right.
So now, once the contract is done, once we have learned the lessons, we have balanced the karma. It really depends on the soul plan condition if we have chosen to continue in that relationship or not. Because saying, Mom, so many times we choose a contract and we release it once its purpose is done. Once the karma is balanced in it, that relationship is not needed and we choose to come out of it. But there are times we do choose to continue being in that relationship and use that relationship as a tool for support, for companionship, so that we are able to deal with karma in other relationships. These relationships which are balanced, which are healed, they can be a huge support to us while we are dealing with other relationships, and karma and lessons there. We all need companionship, we all need support. And if we have chosen to continue in those relationships will be smooth, and they will only give us in terms of many advantages. They'll only give, and this support will in turn help us balance karma in other relationships. So you think, let's accept, mom, if I have one relationship I can rely on, I trust, I believe in, and I feel supported and loved, accepted, validated, it really gives me support and courage and strength to deal with karma in other difficult relationships.
Two
So-
birds with one stone, or maybe three birds with one stone.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to go through the comments?
Yeah, he's just wanting to give a basic understanding of how we are doing it, the basic pattern, how to recognize actually the lessons, and then we'll go to the comments and take deal with each other. So he's saying, mom, we have to understand that karma is lesson. Lesson we can only understand if we understand the triggers. All the emotional triggers we go through in our relationships, that's where our lessons are hidden. And that's what he explained in the last lecture.
Right.
He's saying, if we understand that base emotion which is getting triggered, we understand that this is where the imbalance is, and we chose to learn to heal this imbalance, thereby learning and growing and becoming full, becoming whole.
Yeah.
He's saying, first of all, if whenever we are wanting to understand the lesson behind our triggers, it's very important to understand that the other person cannot hurt us, no matter what the contracts we share with them.
That's true.
We get hurt because of our own mind.
Well, unless they're an axe murderer.
Yeah.
They can hurt us. No, we're talking about emotions. They can hurt our feelings, but they can't do much more than that.
Yeah, he's saying, mom, until we don't stop blaming, until we don't come out of the victim mentality, we'll not be able to look at our emotions objectively to decipher the lessons behind them. It's very important we understand that we are responsible for our hurt and pain. He's saying, I'm not taking away the intensity of the hurt and pain, but I'm just taking away the blame from the other person, because you will only feel empowered when you know it's within you, it can be controlled by you.
Yeah, because we can only be responsible for how we react to that other person, how they treat us. Yeah.
True.
We can't be responsible for what they do, what comes out of their mouth, etc. So yeah.
Perfect. That's the essence. That's the essence he's saying, mom.
Right.
He's saying, mom, you must have seen we are attached to some people and we are not attached to some people, and both might intend or might not intend to hurt us. But invariably, we'll get hurt where our attachments lie, where we are more attached. So that itself proves that we are responsible for our hurt, not the other person. The other person might intend to hurt us or might not intend to hurt us. That is not important.
Right.
We get hurt because we are attached, because there are certain emotions, prejudices, and conditionings in our mind. There are certain expectations in our mind which are not being met, and that's why we are feeling hurt. Yeah. So even though the other person is not trying to hurt you, might still end up getting hurt. That just proves that we are responsible for our pain and hurt. Right. There will be times the opposite person might intend to hurt you, but you might love that person so unconditionally, you will still not get hurt. So even the opposite is true. I think it just proves that we are responsible for what we are feeling. The minute we recognize this, we accept this, it empowers us, because the control comes back into our hands and we are able to heal it, whatever we are feeling. Right. So I think the very first thing is we have to take away the blame. We have to take the responsibility ourselves. We have to understand the emotions are in our mind, and this mind is influenced by so many conditionings, so many prejudices, not only of this lifetime, but from past also.
Oh, yeah. But expectations, everything, all these emotions are tangled up in expectations really deeply. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So I think you hurt yourself. Now, I'm not taking away the blame from the other person. No. That person was intending or not. I'm just saying, take away the power from that person and be responsible for your own state of mind and state of being. The minute we do that, he's saying, mom, it becomes so easier for us to recognize the lessons behind our emotional triggers. Because until then, we'll not be objective enough to see our emotions. We rise above and look at our emotional triggers and understand the lessons, because emotions will catch up and will trigger us so much. We'll be carried away by the emotions, by the sea of emotions so strongly.
Right.
We'll not be able to look at them objectively to decipher the lesson from them.
Yeah.
So I think
Okay.
that's the first point, which will empower us, which will make it easier for us to understand the lessons behind our triggers. He's saying now the triggers. The triggers are basically unhealed parts within ourselves. And that's why we have chosen to learn. And that's why the lessons, and that's why the karma in our relationships, it's all connected.
So
It's all connected.
unhealed, it's the unhealed parts of us, and those triggers are giving us a spotlight. Is, hey, you're here to heal that one part, and look here.
That unhealed part becomes the lesson, and
Yeah.
lesson is karma in the spiritual contract in the relationship. So it's as simple as that. But
Okay.
we'll not be able to see that if we are not objective about them. So we have to take responsibility for our pain, look at it objectively, look at our emotional triggers objectively, and they will directly lead us to our lessons.
Right.
So I'll just go to the comments and we'll take examples from the comments itself and try and decipher the lesson out of every emotional trigger that they have posted. So the first one I have noted down is rejection.
Yeah.
So if you feel rejection in a particular relationship, what would be the lesson? So he's saying, look at the trigger and look at it, how will that trigger get healed? What will we do which will heal that trigger? So if the trigger and the pain is coming from rejection, how do we heal rejection? We heal rejection through acceptance.
Yeah.
So acceptance is the lesson. So he's saying, Mom, today we are just trying to understand what are lessons, how to learn them, how to master them is a complete different ball game altogether. And of course, we will be discussing a very good process of how to learn our lessons also. But the first step is to recognize the lessons.
Well, I guess some examples would be, of course,
Yes.
if your lover rejects you, but I think one of the worst would probably be a child being rejected by his or her mother. Oh my gosh. And that seems like it would have some other life kind of parts to it.
Yes. So you're saying, Mom, basically when we are feeling rejection in any way or in any particular relationship, the lesson is always acceptance. And he's saying why somewhere we have not accepted ourselves. And we are trying to look for that acceptance in that particular relationship where we are feeling rejected.
So self-love.
Trigger, yeah. So self-love and accepting your own self completely. So self-love and acceptance are the lessons if you're feeling rejected. Now, how is that connected? I'll just explain it in short because he's explained it to me so beautifully, and that's how I heal my relationships. So when we are feeling rejected, obviously we were expecting validation or acceptance from that person. He's saying, but you will expect that validation from the other person if somewhere you have not accepted yourself. That's why you're needing it from somebody else. If you give it to yourself, why would you need or expect it from anybody else in any kind of relationship? So you have to sit with yourself and understand where you reject your own self.
Yeah. And validate. Would there be instances where you did something horrible because that was your soul contract? You were helping somebody else learn the lesson in another life. And then, you carry that self-loathing, that guilt into this life.
So this life
could occur in this life too. Yeah,
exactly. This life or past life. But he's saying, Mom, the major issue is that so much of it is subconscious. We are not conscious of it. Yeah. If it's from a past life, of course, it's very deep rooted and it's very difficult to be conscious of it. But most of these triggers are subconscious because there's so much less awareness. First of all, we forget. We don't remember everything that has happened with us and how it has affected us. Yeah. Second thing is we suppress so many of our emotions and we don't deal with them. We don't face them and we suppress them. But invariably, they are affecting our mind, the subconscious mind also and the conscious mind also. And if it's suppressed in the conscious mind, and when a trigger comes, it comes to the surface, it gets triggered and it gives you pain because it's still not balanced. So he's saying Now there will be times when, when people sit across me and they say, oh, I'm feeling this, and if I tell them, this is your issue and this is your lesson, I'm like, no, we don't feel like that, no, I don't think it's correct. But you say, that's the point, because you're not aware, and we will not be able to see it clearly because it's so much subconscious, not conscious. So rejection, invariably, you have rejected yourself somewhere and you are trying to hope and expect for that acceptance and validation from somebody else. And when you don't get it, you feel the rejection. But that rejection is not coming from the opposite person. It's coming from within you.
Well,
you
okay,
need to.
So Erik, what if you're thinking, wow, I don't really love myself, but I don't know where that's coming from. How can a person find out?
So he's saying, Mom, self-love is equal to acceptance, is equal to validating your own self. So he's saying, Mom, when you say, I don't love yourself, I don't love myself, it's because you don't accept so many of your parts. You don't face them. Somewhere there are parts which you don't like, which you're guilty of, which you're shameful of. And that's where you chose to, stay away from yourself. It's like, how we treat others in a relationship. If we see some negative shades, we try and stay away. And that's where our attachment gets reduced. It's the same with us. We have a personality within ourselves. We have a subconscious mind within ourselves. So somewhere we have seen certain aspects of ourselves and we don't agree with them. We are shameful of them. And that's where the issues come up, where we start hating ourselves or we are shameful of who we are. And that's where the self-love reduces.
Well, would it help to go to a medium and figure out where the root or regression is, to where at least some of the root of the self-love?
Always. He's saying, Mom, emotional triggers. Just go back on your emotional triggers. Understand why you're feeling what you're feeling. Because it's the feeling is coming from your own mind, be it conscious mind or the subconscious mind. The healing should be done at that root level. You have to first understand that the root of all emotional triggers are within your mind, conscious or subconscious. But once you start
with that, can you help people with that?
Yes, he's saying, of course. He's been doing that.
Yeah, no, you, Renuka, if somebody was to make a session, channelingspiritworld.com. Check it out. Okay. And Veronica also does emotion code work. Would that help in some cases?
Yes.
And she does past life readings, etc. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Past life regression, hypnotherapy, anything related to emotions, it will definitely work, because what you're doing is working on your emotions, decode them, trying to understand their root, their reason, and heal them. Any so-called emotion which is troubling, positive emotion or a negative emotion, if it's troubling you, it can be decoded, it can be understood, it can be healed, it can be released.
Good.
Affirmations also go a long way. The easiest way is affirmations. I practice them every night before going off to sleep. He's always behind me, practice this, because affirmations go directly to your subconscious mind. You might not believe in it, but all the time you're feeding it to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind starts believing in it, and it releases the negative emotion because you're feeding it the opposite good emotion, which will make you feel good. So there are many ways to release and heal that. But the first step is always recognizing them, being aware of them, going to the deeper layers of your mind and understanding them. Hypnotherapy is also one way where, you can go to the deeper layers of your mind and you will come to know so much information about yourself which you were unaware.
Okay.
So you think there are certain lessons which will need a lot of digging in your subconscious mind, and there will be certain lessons which will be just out there, and you will say, oh yes, I feel that. Oh yes, this should be my lesson. This can be my lesson, and it's easier to then work on them. But if you are confused, you can easily go to a therapist, go to a counselor, because they are professionals. They also help you decode all of these unresolved issues within yourself. Right. What he does in the channeling sessions are, because people, what they do is they just take one relationship and they sit and decode and dissect the entire relationship. So what he does in these sessions are, he tells them why they are feeling whatever they are feeling. He also tells them what the other person is feeling. What was the other person's intention of acting in a certain way which hurt them. He also tells them the back story of their past life. Why the patterns are repeating, what happened in a past life which is being triggered and which is being carried forward in this reincarnation. So all of that really helps the person to understand the lessons, to understand from where the other person is coming, what are the details of the karmic contract, what are the lessons, how to heal those emotions, and then finally learn the lesson and achieve that peaceful understanding in that relationship. He's saying, Mom, being in a relationship or being or not being in a relationship is not important. It's important that you are at peace with that relationship, because your mind will always be in a relationship, even if the person is not in your life. You will always feel
And
the
even
trauma.
if it's a relationship with yourself. So what's the next most common, do you think, Renuka?
Next most common and just rejection he's done with. He says forgiveness. He's saying
That's a big
many
one.
people are pained because they are not able to forgive somebody who has hurt them, or because they are not forgiven if they feel guilty of hurting somebody else. He's saying if forgiveness is your lesson, if you have to forgive somebody else of the pain that you think they caused you, because we hurt ourselves, but we want to forgive, we want to let go, and we want to move on. So forgiveness, the basic lesson is first is again acceptance, accepting of that pain, accepting that yes, it happened and it's all right. And again, the most important lesson is letting go of that pain and hurt. He's saying, Mom, because we hold on to the pain so much, we're not able to forgive the other person. If we don't hold on to the pain, if we heal that pain, it becomes so much easier to forgive the other person. So letting go.
Easier said than done. How do you do that?
He's saying, I'm going to teach a very good process of how to learn these lessons. It's very easy to say we have to learn this, we have to learn this. But I'm going to give a beautiful hack on how to actually learn these lessons. And that's why he promised in the beginning that, Mom, today we're only talking about recognizing the lessons. Learning them is a different ball game. It's very different. So he's going to teach that.
We're going to do that in another session?
Yes, because it will take at least 2 or 3 sessions just to understand what he's teaching us. But he's saying let's be done with the first step, where we are confident of recognizing our lessons, and then we'll deal with how to learn them, because it's easy to recognize, but to actually learn them, practice them, assimilate them in your mind, in your consciousness, it's very difficult. But
the first step, of course, is awareness, recognizing. Okay. You know what would be cool one time is have a YouTube live and let people in the chat thread ask, I'm having trouble forgiving my father. What's that coming from? Blah, blah, blah. That'd be cool.
I would love that. We will definitely do that.
Okay, let me know.
The third was, there was a comment where someone said it's anger, it's confusion, it's not being able to accept. So it's all about self-worth and self-love, again, acceptance. Anger is because you're not able to accept a certain aspect or part of your own self or the other person or the relationship. Confusion is, again, you're not able to accept, and that's why you confuse yourself. It's also letting go and patience. He's saying there are times, Mom, when we will not understand things, no matter how much we try to understand them. Will not be able to understand them. How much ever will not be able to understand the reasons behind why someone did what they did, or why we are feeling what we are feeling. Time will give you all the answers. If you're patient with your hurt, with your pain, if you're patient with your mind, if you're patient with what you're feeling, time will give you all the answers. So if you are confused and angry, patience, because
people who have been angry with another person for decades.
Yeah, because they are not able to accept that that person can do something. If there's an acceptance that yes, this has happened, yes, this person did it, first step is always acceptance. Second is letting go of the pain, and then third is forgiveness. So it's in parts. So anger and confusion, it will lead to all of these lessons in parts, in stages. That means you have a lot of learning to do. The next comment was jealousy. This is amazing. I've seen many people, feeling so shameful and not able to accept that they are jealous. And again, it's a very natural feeling to feel in today's competitive material world. But you saying, Mom, the lesson behind jealousy has to be gratitude. You feel jealous because you feel you don't have something which the other person does have. So the minute you make up a gratitude list and be thankful for what you do have, you will let go of that resentment and that jealousy that you're feeling for somebody else having something you don't have. So he's saying gratitude is the lesson. If jealousy is the base emotion which is triggered.
It seems like self-love and
Yes.
self-acceptance is sort of the ingredient to
common,
everything
yes.
so far that we've
Everything.
talked about.
Everything. Yes, self-worth, self-love, and acceptance. I think acceptance is much more common because it's the first step in every lesson.
Yeah.
Because once you accept, it becomes easier for you to deal with the remaining emotions and then let go of the pain.
Yeah.
The next, which was very common, and it was in few of the comments, was loneliness.
Oh, yeah.
Most of us, at one point or some point in our life, we do feel lonely. We don't feel accepted. We don't feel loved. We don't feel validated. And communications today are so difficult. It's very difficult to find a genuine relationship which gives you that acceptance and that, peaceful surrender where you can be who you are. So you think loneliness is very, very common again because of the way relationships are. And the lesson is self-love again. He's saying, how do you know self-love is the lesson? So you feel lonely because you are desiring company from somebody else, and you don't like and accept and enjoy your own company.
Yeah.
So somewhere you don't love yourself or accept yourself or see yourself. That's why you don't enjoy your company. You will only feel lonely when you're not enjoying your own company. If you enjoy your own company, you will not expect companionship from others.
True.
And you will never feel lonely.
True.
I think it's very much possible you will feel lonely in a crowd also. A crowd might surround you and you will still feel lonely because
Erik was like that. He had friends, but he always felt lonely. He has a wonderful family, but Erik, you always felt lonely. I remember seeing on Facebook a comment when you were alive, always lonely. That made me so sad.
He's saying, because mom, there were parts about myself, parts about my mind. My mind troubled me, and those parts I couldn't face it. I couldn't accept them. And that's why I tried to distract my mind and I tried to stay away from myself.
Yeah.
And that made me feel more lonely.
How could you not love that little face? How could you not love that? Okay, so what about in the case of some people feel like they're lonely because they don't feel like they belong, like in the case of star seeds. I feel like these are earthlings. I don't feel like them.
You think the base emotion of loneliness is that you are seeking validation from others, that they would love to be with you, they would love to spend time with you, they would enjoy your company. But unless you don't do that, you don't feel that for yourself, that you are an interesting person to be with, you are a fun person to be with. Because if you were, you would be with yourself and enjoy your alone time also. You wouldn't expect it from somebody else. And contradicting to it is, the day you start accepting yourself, enjoying your alone time, being happy with yourself, doing things by your own self and enjoying them, that's the day you will start attracting people towards you because of your vibe.
That's true.
But that's the lesson, because once you learn that lesson, you will not face that complication. You will find acceptance everywhere because you have accepted yourself.
Yeah.
That's how it works. He's saying there's a certain kind of courage needed to go alone, eat out in a restaurant and enjoy it. Go out alone for a movie.
That feels so awkward. Oh my gosh.
But you still enjoy it. And that's the kind of acceptance the world needs.
Well, a lot of people probably think, well, they probably think I'm a loser. Like Medhu's party of one. It's like party, woohoo, one. So they think that, wow, she doesn't have anybody that even wants to sit in a restaurant with her. What's going on with that woman? So I think there's people that fear that sort of external judgment.
So you're saying, mom, but if your self-worth is high, if you know what you're doing, if you're enjoying what you're doing, you wouldn't be bothered about other people's opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's when your actual lesson is learned. When your actual lesson is learned. And it wouldn't bother you. That's when you know you have learned your lesson.
Okay.
And you think it's very much possible. It gives you so much empowerment. You are not dependent on any factor outside of yourself. That empowerment gives you so much independence, so much liberation.
Okay.
And you're able to control your reality. That's most important, he's saying. Otherwise, our reality is dominated and controlled by other people, the society, its dogmas, their conditionings, our parents, our upbringing, and that's what makes life difficult for us.
It's true.
So the other trigger I said, unsupported. So again, he's saying here it's definitely self-worth, because you will expect support from others because you don't believe your efforts are enough, your qualifications, your qualities, or your wisdom or your skills are enough. And that's when you will expect support from others. And then you feel
for yourself. You don't feel like you're enough, basically.
Enough. So self-worth is the lesson. And then the other trigger was guilt. He's saying, Mom, guilt is very common, very common. We judge ourselves more harshly than we judge others.
Oh, yeah.
So where it's guilt, the lesson is forgiving your own self. And we have discussed forgiveness.
Yeah.
The next was shame. So shame is, again, healing and self-worth. You feel shameful, but we don't have to judge ourselves. Everybody does mistakes. But if you're feeling shame, there are some parts of yourself you have not accepted.
Yeah.
You run away from them. And that's where self-worth, healing, self-love, acceptance, again, all of them come together in a basket, he's saying. And then there is betrayal. Betrayal as a trigger. So he's saying forgiveness and letting go are the lessons.
Yeah.
You need to forgive and let go of the pain, heal your pain, accept that this happened, and just let go and understand that maybe you chose it because you wanted to learn forgiveness as a soul.
It's true. My thread throughout my life has been betrayal so much, and I've done a lot of work on it, so I'm much better. But some of it had to do with getting into past lives where, the person that betrayed me, who in this life also betrayed me in that life, and here's how they did it and stuff. So it was really interesting, and why they did it, what they were to teach, what they were to learn. So yeah, sometimes it takes, we'll get into that.
Yeah, it's detachment also, Mom. If you don't detach, if you are betrayed and you're still attached and you're still hoping and expecting, so many times detachment is also the lesson. So some of it for you has been detachment also. Because there are times you're so much attached that somebody does something, you feel so much betrayed, but it's again coinciding with the kind of attachment, with the level of attachment, the intensity of attachment you have with that soul. So that soul is trying to teach you detachment by hurting you so much.
Yeah.
That
right. But sometimes it just takes saying to yourself, hey, that person betrayed me, but I still have everything I need, everything I want. I have all my heart's desire. It's okay.
Especially the romantic relationships, we go on taking on abuse and betrayals and cheatings and everything because we are so much dependent on that person. So I think it will also teach you to be independent, to be detached, to stand up for yourself. Boundaries. He's saying boundaries also, because if you're betrayed time and again, somewhere you're not keeping up those boundaries and you're inviting that same experience again and again, you're sort of asking the person to betray you.
Well, that's true. Okay.
The next emotional trigger was bullying. He said the people, families bully you, your friends bully you, your college people and everything. Saying it's very obvious. It's standing up for yourself. If you're being bullied, your lesson is standing up for yourself.
Being assertive.
You cannot take that shit. If you're taking it, if you're taking it in a lifetime, you will be bullied more and more because you have to learn to stand up for yourself and fight for yourself.
Oh, I can't wait to find out what you do to combat that. I mean, I've told people that, and I don't think it's a very spiritual thing, but I tell them anyway. It's just, if somebody's bullying you and just look at them with pity and say, oh, now you're just embarrassing yourself. And they stop. They instantly stop. But that's really rude. So I actually shouldn't even recommend that.
He's saying, no, Mom, it's okay.
Love.
Whatever helps you stand up for yourself. He's saying standing up for yourself will mean different things to different people. Some will get rude and fight back, and that's standing up for yourself, and that's not wrong. Some will, rise above it and detach and ignore. So, we will have different reactions, different subjective reactions. What matters is that you do stand up for yourself. He's saying somewhere it also involves the lesson of self-worth. you will get affected by the bullying, or you will feel insulted and abused only if you have issues within yourself, if you don't trust yourself completely and in your abilities, and you feel there is some amount of truth in the bullying. So
Yes.
yeah.
Right. And
It
a
will
lot of
affect
bullies
you.
know exactly
Where
where
to
to attack you, where your trigger point is, where your weakness is, what you're sensitive about. And that's what makes them
that's
such
what you need to heal. That's what you need to heal.
Yeah.
Because once you heal that, even if they bully you, you will not be affected. You will not feel anything. It will not affect you. You will just rise above it, and you will be able to ignore it and shut it out. And that's enough.
Well, suppose you have a speech impediment and then somebody bullies you about that, like that shooter in Uvalde. He was bullied for a speech impediment. So how do you heal that?
He's saying, Mom, every emotion to heal needs acceptance, needs self-worth, needs
so
a
accepting
huge
a
amount
speech
of
impediment. Yeah.
We need to realize that even if I can't speak properly, it does not make me any less. I'm still worth it. I still love myself.
Still
And
enough. Okay.
I can still accomplish things which others can do. If I believe in this sentiment strongly, anybody making fun of me will not affect me. It won't affect me because I'm so sure of myself and my abilities. And I know this thing does not make me any less. It's all about confidence. It's all about loving yourself, self-worth, all of these things.
It's so difficult because it's a vicious cycle. You have a speech impediment, you get teased a little bit, and then your self-confidence goes down, you get teased more, and your self-confidence gets worse and worse. So it's really hard to break that cycle.
Mom, you might have noticed, but all of these things happen when you're a child. So 90% of these issues are inner child issues. If you're an adult, it won't affect you so much because life has taught you so much by that time. But these issues affect you more when you're a child because you're not able to fathom and understand why this is happening with you. And of course, it affects you further. And then these issues remain in your subconscious and they get manifested when you are an adult in a relationships, in complicated relationships. So I think always going back to your inner child is the solution to most of our lessons and our healing our inner child. I think many people have a lot of processes and ways to deal their inner child. I think I have the simplest one. How would you treat a child who is abandoned? How would you treat a child who was bullied? How would you treat a child who felt unloved? You will reassure the child, you will love that child. So I think you have to take yourself as a if you're an adult and then treat yourself as a child and heal all of those things you're feeling, all of those triggers that you're feeling. It's very much possible and it's a process. It's a process. I think sometimes in future I'll definitely be giving a process of healing our inner child ourselves. You all don't need to go to therapists and mediums and you have to be empowered to, and healing your inner child heals so much and makes you learn so much. Almost 80% of your karma and lessons will be done with because it stems from our inner child.
Okay.
So we are done with the comments at least. And he's saying, most probably, we will start with how to learn these lessons. We have understood how to decode these lessons, how to understand the base emotion which was triggered. We have to just attempt to heal this base emotion. And in that attempt, we will learn our lessons. There will be time where you will mistake your lessons for something else. But you have to understand the day you stop getting triggered, your lesson is learned. If you recognize a particular lesson and you are aiming to learn it and you do learn it, but the trigger is continuing, that means the lesson was something else. The trigger has to stop. That will tell you that yes, you recognize the lesson correctly and you have learned it. That's the major sign.
Sounds great. All right. Well, that was wonderful, Erik and Renuka. Please get in touch with her at channelingspiritworld.com. And Renuka, if you want to tell me, maybe after we're finished with the lessons series, we can have a live one and
yeah, sure. I would love to do that.
That'd be fun. All right. And we can do it at the same time. All right. Love you guys. Please check out, hit the notification button if you don't want to miss one of these. Please subscribe and share with all the people who are guilty and don't love themselves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Love you. Bye.
Bye, Elisa.
Bye-bye.